He is lazy. Hello everyone, my name is Kristen and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am currently a graduate nurse studying for my NCLEX board exam. I apologize, I have been super busy falling behind on replying to my YouTube comments as well as my Instagram DM, so just know I am slowly starting to respond to those now, taking some more time for myself and really just get out of this NCLEX funk that I am in right now. Now, I really just wanted to focus on today more of my job series and talk about where to even start when it comes to applying to jobs and what you can do. So if you're interested in wanting to learn more about this topic, just go ahead and keep watching. Hey everyone, future me just popping in here. I just wanted to let you know that I finally got just a basic website going so I can finally offer services like tutoring, mentoring, helping out with your cover letter, as well as your personal statement, resume, and all that fun stuff. Now you can go ahead and definitely book a session with me, and if for some reason something isn't on there that you need help with, feel free to reach out. I am very open and willing to be flexible. I know that nursing school is expensive, so just know that if for some reason some concerns pop up, message me and I will go ahead and work with y'all. That is what I'm here for. I'm happy to help. So go ahead and check it out in the description box below. I'm also trying to figure out how to create free group sessions just so we can spend like an hour going over whatever y'all need. However, Zoom is pretty limited and I know that only iPhone users can use Clubhouse. So if y'all have any suggestions, let me know down in the comment section because I would love to do like a free group session, maybe like once a week or once every other week, once or twice a month, just so if y'all have questions, you can just pop in and it's just a free session to hang out with me and really just talk about what y'all need for nursing school. So let me know down in the comments if you have any suggestions for that. I know applying to jobs for nursing can seem scary. Just know that all new grads have been in this position before and they are successful. I am doing a whole separate video on just interview questions, interview tips, how to get ready for interviews. So just know that video is coming, and I am also doing a whole separate video on which job I chose. If you didn't watch my last video, I did get 2 job offers. I am going to elaborate more about those job opportunities and kind of just like where my head was at until I got to the point of actually picking one. So don't you worry, it is going to be a great time with this job series. Now I quickly just want to say that these tips and tricks are what helped me get the 2 offers that I have today. Every state is different. You might not be able to start looking for jobs in your state until after you get your NCLEX pass score. It really just depends. All 50 states are different. I know here in Florida you can actually start working as a graduate nurse and you have 90 days to get your NCLEX pass score. So just know that take the information that works for your situation because everyone can benefit from the information I'm going to be talking about today. First things first, you want to ask yourself, where do you even see yourself getting your first nursing job? Is it back home where your family is? Is this job that you want going to be in a completely new state? Do you want to start over, start fresh? Do you want to stay in the place where you went to nursing school? This question is really self-reflective. You kind of have to figure out where are you even going to start looking for jobs. Once you figure that out, you can really take a moment and figure out what is available in your area and maybe what hospitals are there as well. Now, I should quickly say that you can start looking for jobs at any point in time. Looking is different than applying though. I do just want to throw that out there. So you can look for jobs before you even start nursing school. You can look for jobs after you take your NCLEX and get that pass score. Looking for jobs does not matter. It gives you a really good idea of what's in your area. It gives you a good idea of what's available, but just know that nursing jobs get filled pretty quickly and new ones open up. So just because a specific job is open right this moment, it may not be open by the time you start applying. Now, one thing that I really do need to mention is, are you going to apply straight on a unit or do you have to apply to a residency program? Many hospitals, or at least to where I live, a lot of the big hospitals are actually going to these residency programs and you really can't start on a unit anymore. You have to start in this residency program, go through a little bit more schooling, then you work with your preceptor, and then you actually continue you on with this program for about a year, year and a half, maybe 2 years, just depending on what residency program it is and how your hospital deals with their own residency program. The way that it used to work is hospitals would hire new grads directly on the unit, and then the unit would provide specifically the new grad a preceptor, and then this preceptor time period would be roughly around 3 months, maybe more depending on what that new grad needs. So it is still a toss-up. Some states still do it the let's hire new grads on unit. Some states prefer residency programs, and I probably should say every city is different as well. I have seen that residency programs are more popular nowadays, unfortunately, and to add on to that, residency programs, especially if it is a specialty, can be more difficult to get as well. So this kind of leads me into my next point of what kind of nurse do you want to be? Do you want to be just a regular med-surg nurse, get a lot of experience before you decide to specialize, or do you want to specialize right away? Do you want to work in peds, maybe labor and delivery, ICU, ED, or any other specialty? So that is something that you have to think about. All right, now that all that information is out of the way, the next thing that I really just want to talk about when looking for jobs is being organized. I started looking for jobs, and this is just my journey, in January of 2021. I didn't have a job like I anticipated, so I just used that free time to start looking for my first nursing job. And what I did is I used a big note card. These are the note cards that I used for my pharmacology class, and they came in handy because I ended up using it specifically to put all my job information in one place. Really, for me, it was so important that I had all of this on one note card. Now, as you can see, this note card is definitely beat up because I turned to it so often. It was so helpful for me to have all of this on one sheet of paper because then I can just go back to this note card and know that everything that I need is right here. Now, I do just want to let you know that the top of the note card does have all the licensure information that I needed, like when I needed to apply, where I send my transcript to, and all that information. So everything that is underneath that licensure information is all about job applications. Now, I want to tell you that I took a lot of time to just find hospitals that were within a 2-hour radius within my area. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out which hospital I could see myself at. Could I prosper at that hospital? Was I able to move up in the hospital if I wanted to work on the leadership aspect, or specifically if I wanted to like teach new nurses and become a preceptor? So there was a lot of just thinking about where I wanted my first job to be. So when it comes to this list, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 hospitals on here. Right next to the hospital name, I wrote the HR number. I went right on the hospital website and read about the hospital, looked at the jobs that they had open, and that is how I got the HR number. I called every hospital on this list to figure out how a new grad should apply, when should they apply, and do they get hired on the unit, or is it a residency program? All that information was very important for me to know. So what I did is, if there was a nurse recruiter who I could speak to, I got their phone number and their contact info, like their email, to be able to reach back out to them if I had any questions. So I put their name and then contact info right next to the HR phone numbers. If there was a residency program associated with that, then I went ahead and I wrote out when the application opens, when it's due, and how many letters of recommendation I needed for that specific program. So I took a lot of time to really figure out what I needed specifically for each hospital, and that is just because every single one you had to apply a different way, which is why for me it was important to start looking early and really just gather all this information. Now you're probably thinking, well, when should you start applying? Well, like I said, every hospital is so different and every state is so different. I couldn't give you like a range, but if I had to give you a time frame that I noticed was a trend for Florida, it seemed like 30 days before graduation. So a month before graduation is really when I started applying for jobs. That is just a time frame to give you. I wish I could be a little bit more clear about that. I did ask the HRs when I could apply. Many of them gave me a different time frame. One hospital said 60 days before graduation, one said 30 days before graduation, another one said you have to wait till after you get your NCLEX pass score. I think when you're starting to gather information, you'll get a better understanding and idea when you are talking to your nurse recruiters in your area. Just another topic I wanted to go over when it comes to applying for jobs is what you need to apply to jobs. Now, I'm going to try to be as accurate as possible, but I should throw out that every hospital that I applied to wanted different things. I'm going to try to list out the things that I think would be most important to have on hand for your application. The first thing that I recommend is a nursing-focused resume. Now, this is actually my resume. I went ahead and I took out specific details like schools and then of course like my address, phone number. This is just a simple copy of what my actual resume looked like, and you bet I went ahead and I printed it on cardstock. And this impressed actually two of the nurse managers that I spoke to in my interviews, and they were like, wow, and they noticed my resume. So this is honestly one of my biggest tips, is try your best to get your nursing focused resume as accurate, complete, precise as possible, and go above and beyond and submit something that is you. You can personalize it. I just highly recommend don't do so much personalization to the point where it can't be read, but know that it is possible to personalize your resume so it helps you stand out, and cardstock is obviously a great touch. The next item that I think is another crucial thing that you need to have and is so important, and you are gonna hate me for saying this, but is a cover letter for every single job you apply to. So you are going to have to rearrange, reword, do whatever you need to do to make each cover letter specific for that hospital and specifically the job you are applying to. It is that important. This cover letter sometimes is what makes or break an applicant, and it's so important to talk about things in your cover letter to help you stand out. Now, I am going to do a whole separate video on how I created my resume and my cover letter, what you should add, so don't worry, that is coming in the series too. I just wanted to show you and give you an idea of what mine looked like so you have an idea of where you should start. The next thing you should already have on hand when it comes to applying to jobs are references. So I don't have my references on the back of this resume, but on my actual resume, I do have 4 references listed out. I have their job title, I have their phone number and their email to give the specific hospital that I'm applying to a couple different options to get in touch with these references. And it's so important that you have multiple references to choose from. I have 4 references. 3 of them are my clinical instructors, and 1 is a previous manager from when I worked at the cancer center back at home. So those are the references that I specifically chose. Now, the 3 instructors that I chose were clinical instructors in peds, as well as my NICU experience. So like I said, I did want to do more of a specialty, so I made sure that my instructors were more specialized with kind of where I wanted to get a job. The next thing that you should have, now this might be different for job to job. I know residency programs are going to look for this, and that is get your letters of recommendations ready. Get them early. Let your professors know so if they are busy, they have extra time to write you a phenomenal letter of recommendation. It is so important that most residency programs will ask for this. Regular job applications might ask for it as well, so make sure you just have these handy whenever you are ready to apply so you don't have to stress about this later on. Another thing that hospitals might ask you for, and believe it or not, is your transcript. Make sure that you have an unofficial copy of your transcript and your most recent transcript downloaded, ready to be submitted, because I actually did have a hospital ask me to submit that too. Now, when you're going through the application process, most of what I was asked was just that simple background information like my phone number, address, my education, my work history. My references may have been within the work history as well. They asked me if I had any licenses, and I did put my American Heart Association, BLS, ACLS, and my PALS in there as well. Then I have that section that asks about your race, your gender, if you're disabled, if you're a military veteran. And other than that, there was just a section where I could submit my cover letter as well as my resume, and then my transcript if they asked for it, and any extra references that they might need. Now, I should probably say that some hospitals will ask for more than what I am just talking about. This is basically what I experienced whenever I was going through job applications, so I thought I just wanted to let you all know the basics of what you need. And the earlier you look at the application, the more prepared you will be. So if there is anything specific that I missed, you will be able to have that handy for when you're ready to turn in your application. application. Now, my overall biggest tip when it comes to submitting applications, make sure that you submit your application as soon as you can. So if you know the date that it opens, submit it that day. You want to be the first applicant that gets seen. And the reason why I say this is because a nurse recruiter told me that one residency program that I was looking at, they get hundreds of applications and they only interview the first 10 applications that get submitted. That was something a nurse recruiter told me whenever I was on the phone with them. So know that unfortunately, some hospitals don't take the time to look through all the applicants. They choose the first ones that submitted the application. So if you want to get seen, the faster you do it, and of course you want to make it accurate, make sure you're not making any mistakes, but you submit it as soon as possible. One big tip that you should do is proofread your application. I can't even tell you how many times I've been told by nurse recruiters that they've been given another hospital name in their cover letter, that something was spelled incorrectly in the resume, and that is kind of what deterred them from hiring or even looking at their application, because they saw that this applicant was searching for other positions at another hospital, and they kind of see that as a, oh, well, they're not really interested in our facility. I had a couple nurse recruiters tell me that, and I stood by that and made sure everything was proofread, including my resume. I had 3 different people read it to make sure that it was perfect and didn't need any more updating and or correcting. And of course, my last tip when it comes to looking for jobs and just applications in general, try your best to take your self-care time. Try your best to stay as positive as you can in this specific time of your life. Know that whatever plan is meant for you is meant for you, and you are going to take whatever experience you get and rock your first year as a nurse. So I just want to let y'all know that if you remain positive throughout this very stressful time, and if you just make sure that you're taking it in baby steps and you do a small chunk at a time, it is not going to seem as daunting as if you try to do it all in one day. This process took me about 5 months in total, from the time I started looking at jobs to the point where I did my last interview and got my job offers. So know that that was a pretty long time, and I didn't just do this overnight. I specifically took that chunk of time and did little by little every weekend, and know that it is possible to get the job that you want. And that is all that I have for you in today's video. I would be so happy to help you out throughout this opportunity. If you have any questions or you need any help and you want to go ahead and DM me privately on Instagram, feel to do that. I love helping out students. I'm always cheering y'all on, and of course, I just want to wish you luck on your nursing journey.